All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a few, and I do mean just a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. Of course, the views are way down. Yesterday was one of the worst days I've had probably ever, putting up a couple of videos and just, okay, I don't know. I guess people want salacious topics and headlines. And I'm not going to just make them up and put them out there and then have a bait and switch happen. Although I guess it's very prevalent. I read these articles and the way they're worded. Yeah, I guess it's an art to capture people's attention. I want to thank the patrons, though, that are keeping this going, because it's the patrons right now that are keeping this going, because without you guys, I don't know. I wouldn't be all that enthusiastic about doing free content every day, because it's getting close to being like, hey, I made $3.29 today. So it's not so good. Anyway, before I talk about Wolfgang Van Halen, and I don't know, this guy's got some issues when he talks about the situation with his dad. Here's a band that sent me their CD all the way from Sweden. Yes, people want to know what's going on in Sweden, what's in the water. Well, this is Grand Design. If you like Def Leppard or TNT, or both of them simultaneously, Grand Design, singer has a very unique sounding voice. And these guys create some very melodic music. The album is called Rock, RAWK. So please check it out. They were nice enough to actually send me product, which apparently that's an issue today. We don't do promos, Dave, but thanks. Well, you'll get some free exposure. Why not send me a promo? So moving right along, before I do that, don't forget Modern Retro Radio, playing music that few other stations have the courage to play. modernretrofm.com. The headline, Eddie Van Halen, his son says, me just being alive and in the music business is enough of a tribute. Okay, let me read that again because I butchered it. Eddie Van Halen's son says me just being alive and in the music business is enough of a tribute. Oh, man. Despite the fact that all those involved have said that some kind of all-star tribute to the late Eddie Van Halen isn't going to happen, the question keeps coming up. Now, why do you think the question keeps coming up? Because there hasn't been a tribute, all right? It's self-evident in that sentence. No tribute to Ed, sorry, no soup for you. Why should we do a tribute to one of the greatest guitar players of all time? This bugs me. And now it's starting to bug me the way Wolfgang is handling this. Now, Wolfie has had a history of saying some pretty toxic things, especially to people over on Twitter. I get it. The keyboard warriors go out there, and a lot of people, I think, are upset with Wolf because they wanted him to basically be in Van Halen. They wanted him to be the fill-in. And he could do it. He refuses it, and he pushes back against it. And, there is this difficulty. Who's going to sing if Van Halen got back together again with Wolf? Sammy just wanted to do like a one-off tribute, and Dave doesn't really talk about it at all. But I think fans would be okay if they just did it once, got it done, and maybe do a good enough job where you might be able to record a concert and then give the money to Mr. Holland's Opus, like I've said, or cancer research, something like that. Anyway, Ed's son, Wolfgang, the Grammy-nominated leader of his own band, Mammoth WVH, a name that doesn't reek of plagiarism, says it's his own existence. That's the ultimate tribute to his dad, that he exists, that he's alive and playing music. um, that takes a lot of chutzpah, whatever, to say that. Yeah, I'm here, so you don't need a tribute. Just look at me. But you're not doing the kind of music that your dad did. Now, people have said, Dave, his music is pretty good. Cut him some slack. It is pretty good. It's not my thing. It's okay. It's somewhat melodic. It's somewhat interesting, but it's not my cup of tea. He's trying very hard to be very 90s sounding, all right, with some really great guitar work. So I will give him that. But why not, get the whole enchilada and get somebody who's performing melodic style, classic rock sounding, Van Halen sounding, however you want to describe it, music, and then add the guitar work to go along with it. You can go listen to Extreme, their new album. Yeah, that is what I'm talking about. You get both ingredients there. He said this: I view me just being alive and being in the music business as a tribute to my father every day. But he understands why people keep bringing it up. Because most people, Wolf, don't look at you and say, there's a tribute to Ed. He's right there. The offspring is the tribute. And even though he's pushing back against anything Van Halen, that we should just cut him slack and say he's the tribute and just move on. He does get this part of it. It's out of love and how many people my father's writing and playing touched around the world. But then he goes, but life isn't written to have a happy ending. Some things just suck, he says, bluntly. And if I have to figure out how to have a life without my father in it, I think people can figure out how to live without Van Halen. Okay. Sounds a little passive-aggressive here, Wolfie. We just want a tribute, dude. We don't want Van Halen necessarily to come back. Now, if it came back with you playing guitar, which it isn't going to happen because you've repeated it, and Alex doesn't seem to take emails or phone calls, and there's no indication that Van Halen is coming back anytime soon. He goes on to say, Dad's not here. Van Halen doesn't exist anymore as far as I'm concerned, he adds. The music and the legacy are there, and I'll be here to push that forth through things like Dad's Guitar and Amp Company, and I will help in every single way. He goes on, the fact that Van Halen doesn't exist anymore is just fine with Wolfgang, who says he never understood the animosity in the band. As he puts it, maybe it's just 80s bands. There's something about 80s bands where it was a cool thing to be a D-I-C-K. Still, Wolfgang notes that people constantly are asking him about his dad, and it's very jarring and it wears you out. I can't go online or do anything without somebody reminding me, hey, knock, knock, your dad's dead. Do you miss him? I don't think they're doing that. I feel like unless you're in this position, nobody really understands it. Well, I understand the last sentence and how he feels being in that position. But I think a lot of people would just let this go if he would organize a tribute. You don't need Alex. Any one person could do this tribute. Are they barred? Are regular musicians, just anybody who's been influenced by Eddie Van Halen, they should just pick up this baton, whatever, torch, and organize a tribute. That's what they should do, but they don't. And everybody says, man, do I miss Ed. Boy, did Ed influence me. Wow, there'll never be another Ed. In the meantime, there's still been no tribute, and there's been 2 tributes to Taylor Hawkins. All right, and apparently Taylor Hawkins was this beloved character. I didn't know that much about him. Everybody started telling me, oh, Dave, you don't know about Taylor? No, I'm not a Foo Fighters guy, number one. And number 2, I don't know the personality of every musician who's ever existed. I know Eddie Van Halen played guitar really well. Apparently, he wasn't liked within the industry. That's what I'm gathering. So there is no tribute to Eddie Van Halen. And you know what? If Wolf wanted to make things right and kind of make up for maybe some of the things that his father had said, or maybe his personality rubbed people the wrong way. He could put together a tribute. I mean, the fans aren't that interested in the drama of why things don't work. What they would prefer is, hey, can you get something together? A little bit of closure here. All of a sudden we had Eddie Van Halen, and then we didn't have Eddie Van Halen, right? That's what happened. It was very quick, and people were like, whoa, we didn't even know he was this sick, and now he's dead. So nobody's knocking on Wolfie's door saying, hey, man, just a reminder, your dad's dead. Who's doing that kind of stuff? And again, if people are doing that on Twitter or wherever, X, wherever you want to call it now, they should be blocked, and you should move on and don't entertain it. I think he brings some of this on himself. This is the headline of this story. Me just being alive and in the music business is enough of a tribute. That is very... It sounds very pompous. It sounds like you got me. You don't need the memory of my father. You don't need that. You got me. I'm the tribute. Even though you're not doing any of this music. The tribute was at the Foo Fighters concert. So, all right. I got nothing else to add. I mean, if you're a Van Halen fan and you just want to get a little closure out of the situation, maybe just to honor Ed, and then you can actually give money to Ed's favorite charity. You could do that. And that, I think, would be cool. But apparently, nobody is brainy enough to put together anything. Irving Azoff, dude, whoever. There's got to be somebody who can do this and maybe just leave Alex and Wolf out of it. And Dave. I'm sure Sammy would be, more than happy to be a part of something. And then anyone else who was in the Van Halen orbit, or people who loved Ed, Steve Vai could be. I mean, you could bring in a whole bunch of people and have a real tribute to Eddie Van Halen. Anyway, here is Grand Design, their album Rock. You won't be hearing this on your local active rock, mainstream rock station, however they categorize it. It's old school. It sounds a little bit like TNT and Def Leppard combined. Check it out. Also, don't forget about Modern Retro Radio. And please subscribe, people. And please support the channel if you can. I already made my piece at the beginning of the video. I'm hoping that this video, maybe, ask God to bless this video. And have it, jump over the algorithm. And maybe people will see it and watch it. And who knows? We'll see what happens. It's not in my hands at this point. I'm just doing the best I can every day. And I'll be putting out more content, so stay tuned for that.